Hey guys, welcome to the Emergence podcast, a podcast that aims to empower fitness professionals through candid conversations about building sustainable minds, bodies, and businesses. I'm your host, Laura Gunder, ex professional ballet dancer turned classical Pilates instructor based in New York City, sharing my insights from a decades long journey navigating an industry with no set path to success. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hey guys, it's Laura. Welcome to the walk series. I hope you guys are having a good week, day, or morning, wherever you are tuning in from. Last week, our conversation was with Oscar. Such an amazing energy and vibe. Honestly, he has such a great, like, charm and charisma, which he brings to his classes, clients, and just sort of any room he walks into. So it was really a pleasure talking to him. Some of my major takeaways that I wanted to talk about in terms of our conversation were really about around surrounding boundaries. And one of the quotes that we pulled from our conversation that I found super important for both when you think about your clients, but specifically when you think about yourself, is so my philosophy with most people is doing what works for you. And how can we make this fit for you? And approaching that in a way that is safe, sustainable, and lets you get what you want out of it. So, Oscar had said that in the interview, and I find that really important when thinking about yourself as a teacher. We spend so much time thinking about this for our clients, how to maximize their sessions, get the best programming for them, kind of get them to achieve whatever goals they've set out for themselves. But I think it's important that we extend the same kind of thought process to ourselves when thinking about our own energy and making fitness fit into your life and how it's important that you also feel good in your day to day. So essentially, practice what we preach, right? So, one of the main things we talked about was clear lines of communication with your clients and really being able to firmly verbalize and set those standards and boundaries with those clients right off the bat. We really set the standard for how they kind of interact with you. And I think one is setting boundaries around access to your time and energy. So sometimes I've had clients who kind of text me outside of the hours, and it's kind of a hard fine line, right? We're friends with our clients, but sometimes I think it's very important that we keep professionalism around it because there is an exchange of money. So for me, I'm happy to go back and forth a couple times with my clients, being friendly if we talk about certain things, but I do draw a boundary and kind of close that off. So I kind of protect my energy when I'm not with them. When you're in the session, obviously, and it's their time, I give them 120% because that is what they're paying for. And my time and attention is on them. We talk about whatever they want to talk about, etc. That time is for them. But remember, outside of that, that time is your time. And I think when I was younger, I used to get kind of anxious and feel weird if I didn't kind of entertain my clients, if they were like talking to me in between sessions or texting me outside of the studio. I feel like I would have to sort of respond because I owed them something. But I just want to remind you guys that even if your clients are your friends, there's a fine line. But I think you know when there needs to be clear boundaries and sort of figuring out what those are for yourself is really important. Um, I think I've talked about this in other walk episodes, but take your 5 to 10 minutes between clients. I think that's an important standard to set, especially if you are teaching back to back to back to back. You really need that 10-minute break for yourself to decompress. I go into the bathroom sometimes, scroll on my phone, like stare at the wall, take a couple deep breaths, recenter yourself. And that's what I kind of mean about setting those boundaries of access to your attention. So if a client wants to talk to you after their session for like 2 or 3 minutes, that's fine. But if they're kind of going into a long, extensive thing and you're kind of at your bandwidth, I think it's quite appropriate to say like, uh, let's continue this your next session. I need to excuse myself to go to the bathroom. That's one of the best ways that you can sort of enforce that boundary in a respectful way and make it more about the client in terms of how you frame your response, but without sort of not enforcing that boundary and not giving yourself that time and space to break, pause, reset before your next client. Practicing no. This one I struggle with a lot, both in my life and at work. But I'm realizing that when you just say yes, 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 you are running around with a chicken, like a chicken without a head on, and then you are just going to burn out. And that actually happened to me recently. I was overcommitted, overworking, and I actually got to a point where my body just kind of completely like broke down and I just needed to take a personal day, honestly. And because I was just go, 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 going and saying yes, 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 yes for different reasons, I my body completely shut down and I never nap, but I like took a 2 hour nap, like one of those deep, intensive coma naps. And that was kind of a red flag for me to be like, okay, Laura, we need to reevaluate and we need to go slow to go fast. We've talked about this before, but really slow down, be intentional about the clients you're teaching and the quality. And sometimes the quality can get lost if we're just saying yes to everything. And when you do that, you neglect your own needs, your own boundaries, and you start to not enjoy the sessions. And it's not a great situation for you or your client. Listen to your body's needs. That kind of goes to what I was just talking about before about kind of like knowing your limit and saying no. But I think it's really important to understand your needs and what your threshold is in terms of how many hours can you teach where you feel like you're teaching at a high enough level where you can be present still. And then maybe you need to take 30 minutes in between the clients or maybe an hour break to do your own personal workout, go for a walk, um, and that looks different for everybody. And there's nothing wrong with teaching, feeling like 4 hours in a row is your max and you need a break. Or maybe you're fine doing 6 to 8 hours. That's completely fine back to back. But that's up to you to sort of figure out. And I understand in the beginning of your teaching career, it's not really a choice. Um, like how to set your schedule. You just need to teach. And sometimes that can be extremely frustrating because you'll have one client and then 3 hour break, another client, 2 hour break, five clients. And it's just kind of very sporadic. But for that, I would say when you have those long breaks, fill those breaks with continue ed, take a class from like online, or book a private, or utilize that time to really deepen your understanding of the method and of whatever your movement modality you are practicing because it's such a kind of special time. Honestly, sometimes I miss those days where I had all that spare time to sort of just play and understand the movement within my body. And I think sometimes we get lost in uh, our goals and where we want to be. And oh, I just want to be really, really, really busy. And this is so frustrating that I have these gaps. But I trust me when I say if you're putting in the time and effort and you're doing your continuing education, regardless if that's, through online platforms or if that's directly with a mentor or teacher or in classes, that it pays off and you're going to get extremely busy very fast. And you're going to miss those days where you had those 2 to 3 hours between clients. So I think there I'm learning to kind of appreciate kind of the process. That sounds cheesy, but kind of every stage of this career so far. And kind of that helps to center and ground me when I'm feeling overwhelmed or when I feel like anxious to reach the next goalpost. But there's something really beautiful actually that a friend reminded me about just kind of like being present in the now and making sure that you stop and celebrate yourself for the where you are today and how if you look back to like 3 months ago, 2 years ago, that you probably have a lot of the things that you were really wishing for or manifesting or praying for or whatever, however you want to think about it, or, goals you set. So this is a reminder for myself as well is that just remember to pause sometimes. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, take some breaths and listen to your body's needs, practice saying yes and no to things that align with your goals, your energy level, expenditures. Take your 10 to 5 minutes between clients and really set your boundaries around access and time to your energy in outside of the studio. So that's all for today. I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. And thank you so much for tuning in. Can't wait to hear from you. Bye.